This is the Design Review Commission meeting for Monday, October 27th. We will do roll call. Glenn Cass present.
Travis Kauser, present.
Armand Hadilou present.
Richard Stanton present.
Thank you. We have adoption of the agenda. Do we have anyone that wants to adopt it, make a motion, or?
I make a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Next item is public comments for items that are not on the current or upcoming agenda and under the purview of this commission. I believe we have one that's coming up this evening regarding fire watch sign. Are there any others? Okay, we'll handle that first.
Yeah.
Okay, who wants to talk first, Mr. May or Mr.?
He's the alum.
Okay, thank you. You have 3 minutes, sir.
I appreciate that. I'm Bruce Osterman. I live at the 1115 Camino Vallecito and have done so since 1973. I'm here with my wife and my partner, my wife Carolyn, and my partner David May. Before we came here today, we submitted to the commission an email which outlines our thoughts and our concerns here. You had an opportunity to look at it.
Yes.
I have copies if you wish. Anyway, as long as you've all looked at it, and we appreciate that, and thank you. This has to do with the placement of an unpermitted private sign in front of our property. And we would actually like to have, as we understand, this commission to ask it to be either moved or removed. It is not a government sign. It is and it's not permitted. They didn't get a permit, and there are no exceptions to that. The sign is from a private organization called Firewise, which is part of some organization called the National Fire Prevention Association or something like that. And the sign says that we are, or the sign just says it's the Firewise site, and it's in front of our property, and we're not Firewise site. And I don't know who is in the neighborhood. This sign was asked to be put there by, and I think he was the person who got the sign, a fellow by the name of Jeff Kowalski, who was the president of the Happy Valley Homeowners Association. And he asked that it be put up. We have tried to communicate with him to try to resolve this matter amicably and outside the purview of this commission or others. And in that regard, I've written to him twice, and he has not had the courtesy to respond. And we did talk with Mike Moran of the city of Lafayette about the placement of the sign, and he said that he would be more than pleased to move it, but it had to be from Jeff Kowalski. I don't understand that, but that's what he said. And so we asked Mr. Kowalski to help us to move the sign, and there's been no response. As I said, this is not a sign. This is not a government sign. It's not a sign that benefits the community or shows where to go, or a traffic sign or anything else like that. It's a private sign for a private organization. And I think that since we don't, and it says that this is as I said, a Firewise site, and we are not a Firewise site. And Mr. Kowalski nor anyone else ever talked to us beforehand to say, can we put the sign there? And so it just appeared. And we would like the commission to have it moved or removed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions that you might have?
Any questions from commissioners? No, thank you. David May?
I'm just here to represent the Ostermans, and since you have no additional questions, I don't have anything further to add.
Okay, so, we can't really open this for discussion other than the fact, will we put it on the agenda or not? And, do we have any discussion about putting it on the agenda on a future meeting? Well, because it comes under the
Yeah.
purview of design review, signage in the city. So I'll make a motion that we add it to the next agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, aye.
Aye. Thank you. If you get it resolved in the interim, please let us know, or please let staff know.
We will, if I hear from, Mr. Blockbeat or anybody else, city manager, anybody else we contacted, I'll let the commission know. That has not happened.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Yep. Do we have any other public comments under that agenda item? Any raised hands on Zoom? Okay, moving on to the next item, consent calendar. We have October 14th draft minutes of meeting. Do we have any changes?
I have just a couple of comments. One is the name of the applicant is misspelled. If staff might want to check on that. And the other is that the is a little confused, the address of the neighbors that spoke on that item. It references them of being neighbors of the project site, but it doesn't give their address, which I think we usually do.
Okay.
So you might just check on that too. Those are my only two comments.
Okay, so pending those changes, do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Yes, I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second on that item?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on, study session. This is item SS 0625. And this is a request for a study session to construct a 120-unit, 3-story senior care residential building consisting of 89 assisted living and 31 memory care units. It includes a subterranean garage, a maximum height of 42 feet, 6 inches, and includes 24,000 cubic yards of grading. The address is at 1051, I can't pronounce that, Eileen Street. And our project planner is Arlie Cassidy.
Good evening.
Arlie's on Zoom?
I'm
Go
here.
ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so
Turn it
much.
up a little.
As Chair Cass mentioned, this is a study session for a new multifamily development. I'd like to emphasize for everyone listening that a study session does not include a formal action. The goal of tonight's agenda item is to look at the plans together, go over what has been shared with us so far. They're not a full application or full set of plans. And for the DRC to offer their feedback based on what we have so far to the applicant so that they can proceed with more information when they do submit. No final and full application has been submitted at this time. I'm going to start with some context. The proposed property site or project site actually stretches across 4 different parcels. They're contiguous. You can see parcel 1 is facing onto Eileen Street on the right. Parcel 4 and 3 actually face more towards Stewart Street. Parcel 3 does include a long stretch, kind of a flagpole over to Stewart Street. So there is property that connects that for Stewart Street access. Altogether, the 4 parcels make up 53,058 square feet or 1.22 acres. The slope there is down to Mount Diablo or up to the north, and then also up to the west across that parcel. Looking at our relevant plans, I wanted to remind the commission that this is a site that has been rezoned as part of the housing element efforts. So the general plan designation is now East End Commercial -60. That's the yellow map. The downtown specific plan did not change as part of that and continues to be East End District, but the zoning is now C160 or report, the blue map here. And I want to clarify, I think I had a typo in the staff report. At one point, I did identify this as the old zone, which was C6, C1 on its own. It's now C160. Looking at the context around the property, the proposed location is outlined in black, though the right side should actually be extended one bit further to encompass this house towards the number 10. The 4 parcels have one single family home on them each at this time. Those would be demolished for the project. And I want to look at the context of what uses surround the property. I've put a red R across residential uses. Most of these are apartments, though the R next to number 9 is actually a single family home. And then you can see commercial uses along Mount Diablo Boulevard, O for office on the right and upper left. And then there is the day school, labeled just school, at the upper left at the top of Stewart Street. There are also 2 properties immediately left of the proposed location. They have approved townhomes written across them. These are the Samantha townhomes. They were approved, or let me see, I think they were approved in 2022 and recently had that approval renewed. So that is still an active permit, though no building permit has been filed at this time. Looking at the site itself, the red outline shows the property, though I did not include the Stewart Street access on the left. That's the full property outline there with the 4 parcels. You can see the main access from Eileen on the right, and again, the rear access from Stewart on the left. The Stewart side includes a piece of property, a narrow line connecting to Stewart, but also an easement above that that would give a full 20 feet of access on that side. Eileen Street is shown as having a 30-foot access from property line to property line. However, the current paving situation does not extend that full width, especially towards the top of the road. You can see that there are some improvements shown here at this house, and though they're not shown on this plan, there are some improvements in this right-of-way here from the upper property as well, which we'll see in a moment. The plan for the property, the proposed project, is for the front access on Eileen to be a bit of a grand entrance. There's a turnaround with an island here and an entrance to a garage. This is the lower side, and then the access on Stewart, this flagpole does climb a bit of a hill, and then this is a floor higher than the Eileen side and would be more of the service access and entrance there. This image shows the topography in gray and the proposed grading in black. You can see that Eileen Street, actually some of these lines here are actually gray. They seem like they're all black, but some of the Eileen Street grading is actually there. There's not a terrible amount of change proposed for the grade of Eileen as it comes up to the property. The main floor here would sit pretty level with what is currently there. But you can see that 24,000 cubic yards of soil is proposed to be cut. That's quite a large amount. And that's mainly due to this sloping hill with this left side at the height. So the goal of the property is to dig most of this out so that a parking garage a level above the entrance can be situated below the main floors with the units on them. And we'll get into that in a moment. So the regrading is proposed for Eileen Street. There are a number of improvements that have been installed by neighbors in the right-of-way that would be proposed to be removed by this plan. I'll let the applicant speak more to that. And they are showing a new sidewalk on the west side of Eileen here. However, I believe that would require an existing retaining wall that sits on the property line to be pushed in. And I don't know anything about communications with this neighbor and whether that has been agreed to. I did want to highlight some tree removals. The applicant for this study session submitted a 9-year-old arborist report. I should mention that there was a previous approval for this project, or excuse me, for this site, which was a different project entirely and included condominiums, or I believe apartments, excuse me. And so a number of documents that were submitted for the study session are a bit out of date. Going off of what we have, this arborist report shows a total of 60 trees on site and adjacent to it. 5 of them are proposed for retention, which would be 5 off-site. They're circled in green on the left, closer to the Stewart Street access. These are all, or 4 of them are on those Samantha townhomes, those properties, one to the south here. So they're showing some tree protection measures. One of the 5 is dead, and I can confirm that the other 3 on the Samantha townhomes lot are actually proposed for removal under that project approval. So there would be 1 tree off-site proposed for retention long-term. The 55 trees they're showing for removal include 14 that are off-site. The majority of those are to the north on Caltrans property, I believe. You can see, apologies for the messy circles. I wanted to simply call out where the majority of the trees sit. The center of the lot is pretty bare. There are a number of trees to the south along the Eileen area. The majority, again, is towards the north on Caltrans, and then again, some here at the Stewart Street side. I'm going to briefly go through the floor plans to get a better sense of how the building is laid out. Again, the lowest level is facing towards Eileen. This image, I believe, includes the Eileen right-of-way, which is where it connects here, and it comes up to the north on this side. So there's a turnaround, a front lobby, some storage and mechanical, an elevator, and a few offices. And then this is the parking garage entrance, which immediately slopes up to get to the basement floor. So this is a floor higher. The lobby is open below. We have a small parking garage, a theater and salon, kitchen, wellness, and some other storage and maintenance uses here in the basement. This is a 13,000 square foot floor, not including any parking. And then the 3 main floors are rather similar. One main difference is that the memory care units are all on the lowest floor. So each of these 3 floors with the units is 33,708 square feet. Here we have the 31 memory care units proposed, as well as 15 assisted living units, and a little bit of dining, cafe, and lounging space as well. The second floor, again, just the assisted living units at 44, and then the final 30 assisted living units on the top floor with some open space for common areas as well. These elevations are to the south and east. That would be facing down towards Mount Diablo, and east is Eileen Street. So you can see the porte cochere called out kind of on the right of that south elevation, which is this box here that you can drive under. There's a 5-story presentation from these 2 sides with a height, a total of 65 feet 6 inches on measured from the very bottom of Eileen to the top of the roof. Switching now to the north and west, this shorter elevation is facing towards Stewart Street access, and the west is facing towards the Caltrans Freeway. I've placed a red line approximately, best guess, where that grade would hit the building or be visible. So Stewart Street, you can see the small doors and access points here. That's the main grade there. And then with Caltrans, there are some retaining walls, but the freeway itself is a bit higher. And so majority of what would be visible is simply the 3 floors at the top. They would have light and window access across the freeway and wouldn't be blocked by it, but it would come across the lower floors there. The height on the Stewart Street side, the 4-story side, would be 56 feet 6 inches. The applicant provided a number of isometric views. This is from the front or southeast. This is kind of the downhill Eileen corner looking up at the property. You can see again the turnaround and main entrance here on Eileen. The freeway would sit beyond on the upper right. And then switching as if we're from the freeway, looking down from the Eileen entrance. Again, there's the entrance. You can see the 2 proposed courtyards cut out from the roof angle there. And then switching to the Stewart Street side, you can see kind of the more mechanical and secondary access points here. This is again the downhill on the right facing down towards Mount Diablo with the freeway behind. This rendering shows the front facing towards Eileen Street. Again, the idea is that there would be a grand entrance on this side. You can see the white car disappearing into the garage with an area for a turnaround here. They are not showing the freeway, which would obviously sit just beyond the building. I also wanted to talk about the proposed materials. The applicant was kind enough to mark this image up so we can see what is proposed. The lower or base area where you see the texture and the sign that has stone, there's stucco proposed under the main roof here, metal roofing and or cladding here, and then a wood ceiling at the porte cochere and awning there. At the upper levels, we have stucco in this bay here, cap siding at number 5, and then board and batten at number 6 between the windows. For this meeting, notices were sent to 12 surrounding neighbors within a 300-foot distance and posted in 3 locations 10 days prior to this hearing. No public comments were received by staff prior to the meeting. I did want to talk about some referral comments. This project was referred out to a long list of agencies that look at our applications and give us feedback. The primary comments I want to call attention to were from the city engineer, the city landscape consultant, and Contra Costa Fire. From the engineer, his comments focused on Eileen Street, which is a private road, and we have not seen any documentation showing that the applicant has permission to change it or remove other people's improvements in it. And so that's something to be established. The city engineer was concerned about where stormwater would be processed. Typically, this would be on site, but the project is currently built to the property lines. The city engineer requested a traffic study and had concerns about the parking calculations and emergency access. From the landscape consultant, there was a request to update the arborist report and to consider a wider landscape buffer at the southern edge, among other comments. And from fire, we heard a request for access from road and aerial apparatus and a fire truck turnaround on the Eileen side, as well as a second point access, which would be required. My own comments on the project focused on clarity on the classification of use, whether this is residential or commercial. The applicant had communicated both at different times. This is obviously meant for people to live there, but there is an idea that it could be qualified as commercial, which would then exempt it from the city's inclusionary housing ordinance. So that needs to be determined and clarified. The proposed density currently is not consistent with the general plan. The proposed height and the step backs are not consistent with the new zoning for that lot. And the parking ratios have not been clearly identified as far as which use classification they're relying on. As I mentioned in the staff report, some applicable code sections that we'll be using to evaluate the project include obviously the general plan, downtown specific plan, and zoning, which I listed earlier, the inclusionary housing ordinance, which applies to all residential proposals, the objective standards for downtown and multifamily, and I neglected to mention the public art ordinance that will also apply to the project. So turning now to the Design Review Commission's discussion of the project. Of course, we're open to all comments, but I specifically wanted to ask if the project's massing and scale seem appropriate and consistent with those imagined for the zoning district, especially given the existing homes and buildings in the neighborhood. If the proposed materials are appropriate for the site and scale of the project. And again, if there are any other comments the DRC would like to share. As I mentioned earlier, no formal action is proposed at this time. Therefore, staff recommends that the DRC review the proposal and provide feedback to the applicant. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners, questions for Arlie? Armin?
Thank you, Arlie. I appreciate the presentation. Few questions.
Mhm.
What's the maximum allowable density for the site if it's considered residential?
It is 60 units. That's why we have the 60. So it'd be 60 units per acre.
Okay,
The site is zoned or is with the 4 units were they to be merged, that would be 1.22 acres.
okay, so it would be if you just 60 per acre and then 1.2 acre, would it be like 75,
In that
76
ballpark,
units? Okay, and they are proposing,
120 units.
okay, so it's way over the density.
Yes.
Would they get any density bonus if they are gonna apply for inclusionary housing?
So inclusionary housing is something that applies, is mandated by the city for any residential proposal, whether
Okay,
it's small units or multifamily, that would apply to any residential proposal. They would then be able to use whatever affordable units they are including in their base proposal to request a density bonus, which would be based on whatever percentage of units are in fact
Right.
included in that proposal. At this
Right.
time, the applicant has not said specifically that a density bonus application will be included. And again, no formal application has been filed.
sure. With the density bonus application, what would be the maximum density they can get on the site?
I have not calculated that. The
Okay.
density bonus state law does allow for significant additions and bonuses based on the units. They are obviously more generous the more affordable the units are. And there are
Right.
certain categories like student housing that are deemed especially valuable and get more of a bonus.
Okay, thank you. In terms of the height and setbacks, what's been proposed and what's required?
So I believe the height is also 60 feet, whereas we have a proposal for 65 as Lafayette measures it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, let me go back. Went too far here. So as the city of Lafayette measures height, it is from the lowest grade, and you take the average. So on the south elevation, looking up towards the units and then the freeway beyond, this would be the lowest elevation. There's a full 65 feet 6 inches from the lowest to the highest elevation. So this is above the maximum height allowed.
Sure. And what's the delta of the parking of what's proposed versus what's minimum allowed or minimum required?
The applicant hasn't identified which land use it's applying under. This obviously appears to be a multifamily project. The goal is for many seniors to live there in a permanent manner. However, the applicant has mentioned that HCD sometimes allows the projects like senior living projects like this to be considered commercial. So we would need to see what the project is deemed in order to determine which parking use classification we would apply.
Sure.
However,
Thank
it's
you.
likely that the current proposed parking is under the amounts that we would normally require.
Sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Arlie, how many stories are above the grade of the highway, the nearest lane of highway?
Our best guess is 3, looking at the grading map and how high things are. So this north elevation is facing towards the Caltrans Freeway, Highway 24. The red line is an approximate guess of where someone kind of standing on the freeway, which hopefully doesn't happen, what they would see. So what would stand out above the freeway.
Okay.
So it's the 3 levels where people would be living, and it doesn't include the basement and the lower lobby level, which are all behind these retaining walls below the red line.
And I didn't drive by this evening, so is there a Caltrans wall along that frontage or no?
If you're looking up the hill,
No, when you're looking at down to the south
no
from the
wall.
freeway.
no,
There's
there's
no
no wall. As I mentioned, the site, so we're looking, this is the north elevation, which means when we look at this lower elevation, we're actually looking south. So on the left would be Eileen Street, on the right, Stewart. The grade here is naturally or currently approximately where the Eileen entrance is shown, but then climbs as it comes to the right. And I think even comes up above the edge of the freeway, the foot of the freeway there, so that if you're driving past, you'll see, and you're kind of glancing over carefully, you'll see a 2-story house and a bunch of eucalyptus mostly blocking it. And that's kind of where this final darker shaded area is. That's, I think, where that house sits, is to the right. That's where the highest grade is on the project site.
Thank you. Any other questions from commissioners? Okay, applicant, 10-minute presentation, please.
And I have the slides for that. I will present and you can just tell me when to go next slide.
Yeah, no problem, thanks.
Go ahead.
This is my architect.
Please introduce yourself.
I'm Jim Freedy. I am part owner, my partner Ron has lived there since he was a kid. We both grew up in Lafayette. My parents still live in Lafayette. We've got deep roots here. I think I had a full head of hair when we started this project. It's been a while. And as Arlie, by the way, great job on the presentation. It was approved for a 40-unit apartment building. Unfortunately, it didn't really pencil out, so we had to scrap the project. And since then, things have changed as far as regulation goes, so now we're taking a shot at this. Just a couple of things I wanted to clarify before I let my architect take over the stand here. We did get a adopt the highway permit in 2017, and we planted oleanders and strawberry trees all along that edge. And those oleanders should grow to 20 feet tall. They're white, which will create a pretty healthy barrier. They're very close centers. We actually submitted the plan to show what we did. So it's done, it's planted. It's just a matter of time before they get high enough to really cover that building. But by the time those are grown, the only thing you really see is the top floor. And you won't even see most of that because generally those white oleanders, they'll grow over 20 feet over time. But, the height that Arlie was mentioning, we actually made some adjustments and we were able to get it at the 60 feet. So we don't need a height variance now. I understand the concerns that, have been mentioned here about various things. And, I've been trying to work with my neighbors and, we've got some issues to work out, but, the neighbors pretty much know what's going on. And the neighbors to the south of us, the big apartment building, they've been 100% on board. And, Jenny and I have a few things to work out, which I'm sure we will. We've known each other forever. And, anyway, right now Eileen Street is pretty much a mess. And, it's one of the worst streets in Lafayette. It's just not maintained. It's in bad shape. And I think this will be a big positive. We can get this project going. And then one more thing I wanted to mention on the density. I know Jason, I don't know if he's on Zoom right now or not, but Jason is our partner on this project. They're the assisted care living people. He's on board. Okay, good. He can speak about the density much better than I can, so I'll let him handle that. But let me give it to my architect and he can talk about the actual building.
Yeah, obviously, thank you, John. Thank you, honored to be able to present this project to you today. I'm Aaron Clark with Lenity Architecture. We specialize in senior housing. We've got a 25-30 year history. And we've done multiple projects in California, multiple, over 15 in the last 2 to 3, 5 years, around there. Just in regards to the density, yes, it's around 74. When we are applying for a 20% senior housing bonus, which gets it up to around the 89 mark, so we're hitting that mark. The memory care, we just received approval in Nevada, California, and the memory care actually is not considered in the density bonus calculation. So that was a separate. So when you look at the density in regards to the use, those in a previous precedent project have been subtracted. So that's why it seems so large, but they're not all apartment units. So just real quick, next slide. So you've met Jim and Ron, and then Calson Management is out of Vacaville, developed multiple. We have worked together on over 10 projects in the last 5 years. So they're very experienced in this industry. And I really want to take the next slide, an opportunity to speak to the use and the need, which is really a core part of Lenady's business is helping these seniors get homes, and the need is super abundant right now. There's just a housing shortage all across the state, but seniors are no different. Next slide. And if you're not familiar with assisted living and memory care, it is basically common meals. There are no kitchens. So this is more like a hotel room. The reason why we classify these buildings as commercial is because they are essentially hotel rooms. All of the meals are provided in a common dining room. There's wellness activities, lounges and that type of thing. It's a safe and secure setting and it's staffed 24 hours a day. The good news is Ali did a fantastic job. So the next slide, I don't need to go. We can do that really quick. I think project location, you guys know where you're at. That's Highway 24 backing. So next slide. The context Ali covered, so we can go into the next slide. This is just to share some context images about the neighborhood. And the grade, I'd like to move to the next slide to discuss the grade, because this is probably the most considerable part of the project. And Jim and the team, we worked together very closely to try to get the grades to work. So you'll see in the next section that we have the underground lobby and then the parking. And you can see in section A, the cut and fill. And you'll see, and if you look at the very slight left side of section A, that's the portion that is approximately about 5 to 10 feet above. And I don't have the grading plan memorized in my head, but it does step down, and there is a retaining wall on the high side of Caltrans. You can see how that's a general approximation of the grades of the site. So at the entrance lobby, you can see the parking garage that's dug into the site, and then the 3 floors above. And then the next slide. This is the site plan. I think Ali represented it pretty well. There's been a few changes. There's been negotiations with the property to the south to get storm retention in that southwest corner. We've also been refining the storm retention on Eileen Street. We also have planters around the edge of the building, and those planters will be fed directly from the roof. We've got a 10-foot wide access and planter perimeter around the building. So next slide. Just in terms of general circulation, as Ali mentioned, we've got service vehicles, back of house and fire secondary access. And we've got the porte cochere, building entry and parking entry. It is noted that we have filed for an official AMM with Contra Costa County in regards to fire, and I'll explain the building design and fire in a moment. The next slide. We are proposing to create a pedestrian connection with Mount Diablo on the project site. Next slide. The building for the architects, in 2 buildings, it's a type 3 building. We actually are proposing some additional meshes in our AMMR. We're proposing a 150-foot dead end off of Stewart Street. We're proposing fire hydrants in the center of the deficient hose pool. The east and west stairwells will go directly to the roof and have direct access to the roof. Standpipes proposed, and we also designed a 3rd exit associated with the firewall that has 2 exits from building A and B. So in a typical building, you're required 2 exits. So we have a horizontal exit on the north between building A and B, and we have basically 3 exits for each building. And next slide. We're proposing aerial access on Eileen Street. We've set the porte cochere back 15 feet from the edge of the planter curb. We've set the building face back 30 feet from the edge of, because the aerial access needs to be with 15 and 30. We have a truck turnaround proposed as you can see from the rendering, the scale of we've got about 13 feet and 13 feet between the parking garages and the first level. So the scale of that will accommodate a fire truck turnaround. Next slide. There has been some changes, so I apologize. This is 10 minutes is very short. If I get to it later, the lobby has stayed pretty much the same, but if you go up to the parking level, we have increased the parking. We do satisfy. We have 45 stalls. We have the exterior stalls, and we do satisfy the parking count right now, and we do believe we actually will. We'll be applying for 5% reductions relative to transit demand management, and some other incentives in terms of location. So we've increased the parking. We're working with Republic in regards to trash. In fact, right now they drive up one way and service the trash presently. Next plan. Sorry. These plans have not changed very much. Once again, the memory care units, the building, and let me jump to the elevations real quick, Carly. So yeah, so when we were designing the building, we had some ideas about Merrill Gardens as an inspiration, California craftsman, and we were struggling with how to define the base because we had a lot of columns in the upstairs and the downstairs with no lining, and it just wasn't flowing. So we decided with the concrete structure that we were going to do something a little bit more contemporary. So we went with a nice contemporary base. Our first design, next slide, was a contemporary base with a contemporary top, didn't have corner articulation windows, was very plain and blocky and massing, but the materials related a whole lot more. We wanted to soften it and make it feel more residential. So we ended up, once again, refining the design. Next slide, thanks, Ali. And softening the corner with corner glazing, changing the materials, changing the color palette. The color palette's still in discussion with ownership, so we're still working on that. Elevations have been refined in a little bit more detail, as you can see, and the site sections. Next slide just represents similar imagery, but just larger. And now the site, we'll just quickly go through these, Ali. This is a representation of the view from Highway 24 looking west. Now this is looking east. And then this next slide will show, this is the plan that was created. Sorry, could you go back one? Yeah, this is the plan that's created. So when we're talking about the freeway and screening, it's it will be very densely screened in the future. Next slide. That's a view from, sorry, there's one more before that, Ali. This is a view from Stewart Street, and then the view from the bottom of Eileen Street. And then we've put in some refined grading exhibits into this package, and storm retention exhibits in the landscape plan that have been fully refined. So as you can imagine, when you first submit for a study session, we're trying to get the clock ticking. We're trying to just get the conversation started. There's been a lot of work since then, and obviously a lot more conversations to come.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioners, questions for the applicant?
I have a question. Can we go to the plan, please? A07 or A06?
The full plan?
Yes,
Okay, yeah.
these are not to scale, otherwise I could have taken
Yeah,
some.
and they're not labeled appropriately with the
Yeah.
previous.
What's the width of that courtyard, at the short end?
The courtyard at the short end, I'm gonna approximate it here, it would be about 20 to 24 feet, 20 feet.
20 to 24 feet, okay.
Yes. We have a project in Vallejo. We conducted, it was a project very similar, had more aggressive courtyards, and it is 3 stories. So
Mhm.
if you're ever in Vallejo and want to see that,
Yeah. So basically, if you just imagine a 45-degree sunlight, that unit on the north side is not gonna get the sunlight on the podium, right? Because it's minimum 30 feet tall, is a 20 foot wide.
Correct, yeah.
The first unit is not gonna get the direct sunlight, okay. And that's for all the units, the podium level units. On the north side.
Okay, yeah,
Right.
right now.
But isn't that memory care?
I don't think the code specifies direct light.
Mhm.
Okay.
Are you differentiating between the memory care unit versus the other types?
Absolutely, yeah. Memory care security is 100% secured from the rest of the facility.
Mhm.
And it's on the the first floor. And you can see we've situated the elevators, one at the lobby, and we've kind of we've designed a front lobby and a rear lobby.
Okay.
The parking, you'll notice in the parking that it's connected. And seniors don't and can't walk long distances. So,
Mhm.
we've provided that circulation. But yeah, you'll see the memory care, there's a donut. And that's very important
Right.
because you have people that wander in, they circulate, they walk.
Mhm.
And then we've called what I like to call the dumbbells. So the seating area on the right of the plan also has another loop that we define the plans with flooring changes. So that gives them an idea. They can kind of wander
Mhm.
the dumbbell in terms of, so that's the secured portion.
Sure. What's the occupancy type?
It's R2.1.
R2.1?
It's a residential.
All
care.
of them or?
Yes, the whole building is a residential care facility for the elderly,
Okay.
licensed through DHS.
Okay.
Yeah.
For your A3 occupancies, do you have enough number of exits where they have gatherings?
We do, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a building code specialist in our team. We do multiple reviews. Some of the hardness in getting it in, if you look at the new plan, it's been double checked.
Now, your fire plan,
Yes.
does that hammerhead, does that actually go into the garage? Or does it go like an extension of Stewart or what?
It goes to the garage door was the proposal, yes.
Okay,
Yeah, the initial concept. I need to check the distances now and see the garage door did not move, but,
Mhm.
okay, and the previous project, you had trash at the very top of Eileen Street, if I remember. Are you still, where's the trash now?
no, we wanted to try to separate the services with the front of house and the back of house, so we are proposing it off of Stewart Street.
Okay,
And of note, being out there today, there are trash enclosures halfway up Eileen Street that the Republic Trash Company has to access, and also on the Stewart side, so.
cause I think we had a neighbor that had an issue about trash for their property on the other side of the street. So I'm not sure whether Republic is still coming to the end of Eileen to pick up their trash or what. Am I wrong?
That trash is one of the problems.
Okay. Memory of 6 years ago. Okay, open up for public comments. Do we have a slip from you?
No, I did
Okay,
not.
please fill one out before you leave
Before I
this
leave.
evening, yes. And introduce your name, and you have
I
3
will.
minutes.
I do have, okay, I'm gonna walk quickly. I did not get these to the board. I didn't know that was available to me. So, and I'm happy to give one to the applicant also. My name is Jenny Sweetland, and I own property from 1054 to 1066 Eileen. It's immediately east of the proposed development. The primary problem I have with this, and I wanted to just give you an overview because I think this photograph, the first page is a good one. And I'll give you a really quick history lesson here, but the history lesson is Mr. Brown from Brown Avenue and his wife Annie in 1917 filed a subdivision map here. And he made an offer of dedication to that whole space that's outlined in red. That was his offer of dedication that was never accepted by the county, nor was it ever accepted by the city of Lafayette. So in essence, that piece of land that doesn't even have an APN is still in the Brown family estate. He then sold all of the lots that were developed in the 1930s and very early 1940s. And their access rights were the existing pavement that was in yellow. Then in 1954, they put in Highway 24, basically terminating Eileen Street. And as you can see, that yellow, it says existing pavement. That was the really old, it's, if you go up there, it's dilapidated asphalt that hasn't been used since 1954. On the right in red, you'll see the Sweetland driveway. That's the northernmost driveway on Eileen Street. Across the street in blue, you'll see the Freethy Riniker driveway. That driveway for Freethy Riniker has been there for a very long time. The assessor's map actually changed the lot lines, acknowledging this access to them right there. And everything in that yellow spot north of my driveway, that implied easement was in essence, it was abandoned. And if you go look at it, it clearly was abandoned. It's never been paved. When I acquired the property in 2004, as you can see, to the right of that yellow existing pavement there, you'll see that I have planted oak trees, retaining walls. I have part of my driveway, part of the parking in front of the house. All those improvements have, excuse me, have been there for 21 years, and I have occupied that land and used it. My counsel tells me I have a strong case for a prescriptive easement, not only against the fee simple ownership of the Brown property, but also anyone with an interest that might have had access rights there. So
You-
I've.
Wrap it up. Your 3
You want
minutes.
me to wrap it up?
Yeah,
Okay, so, I know it's a late night, but this is extremely important to.
I understand, but
Okay,
the public is given 3 minutes and your 3 minutes.
Okay.
the bit-
so
thing.
I would like to tell you that, the proposal, if you look at Arlie's first page, you'll see that the proposal, it's on the introductory page, and maybe I don't have time to show it to you, but in essence, this development is proposing to develop through most of that red triangle, which is not owned by them. They don't have accepted rights. It isn't an accepted street. The yellow portion, which they at one time had access rights to, has been abandoned since 1954. And since 2004, I have occupied that area and made significant improvements to it. Their proposal, and I'm working with Jim and Ron to try to get something more equitable, is if you look at on the front page, right by the arrow where it says Brown's offer of dedication, their development is probably 8 to 10 feet from my front porch. And it's going to be a big concrete wall, 8 to 10 feet from my wall, which is going to impact my values and certainly the use and enjoyment that I have now.
Okay,
So-
thank you. We're gonna have to move to the next comment.
Yes.
Do we have another comment slip on this?
On the school street. You're on this third side. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do we have any other public comments?
We do have one hand raised.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi there. My name is Candace Lee. I'm a representative of the Samantha Townhomes. I actually have a few comments and questions I'd like to get clarified. First off, I'd like to understand where the mechanical and electrical equipment will be placed on this project, if it's at the front of Eileen or on the back of Stewart. If it is placed on the back of Stewart with the kitchen, a commercial kitchen that is placed there, I'm curious to know if there's going to be any type of wind study to discuss the amount of fumes that would be emanating from that commercial kitchen, as well as an acoustical noise report about the vibration and the sound caused by all the mechanical equipment placed in that area. In addition to that, I'd like to understand what type of potential traffic that may be for this assisted living care facility as it would pertain to ambulance or fire that would create noise pollution around the residential homes in the area. In addition to that, I'd like to also understand a little bit more if there's a civil report in regards to the grading. And also the easement on Stewart Street. My understanding is that that was in pink, that area, that is not tight. There's no title for that. So I know there's been discussions with us and Jim Freethy, and Jim Freethy had commented that there was no title in place for that as well.
Okay.
So I just wanted to be clear on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, applicant, you rebuttal on the two comments that we received.
Yeah, so the main electrical service and fire service will be on Eileen Street. Rest assured that there will be sound studies that will be done for the project. That's a requirement of California code. But in regards to the kitchen, we typically, we will in this case, we will have a shaft that goes from that parking level through to the roof. There's a phase in architectural design called design development. Once we get there, we'll start to manipulate the plan slightly to get that to work. Right now, conceptually, that is what we do on most projects. In regards to sound, there are, for many of these facilities, and if Jason Reyes is on, I'm not sure if he is, but he could respond to this a little bit more appropriately, but they generally have a non-emergency response, so they don't always arrive with their sirens going. And then, sorry, what was the other last question? I noted.
Well, we had the easement.
The easement, yeah, that's not me, that's right. That's why I didn't register. Yeah, if you'd like to answer that.
As far as the driveway goes, we've owned it. It's part of the property. It's 20 feet wide. It's pretty much that simple.
Okay,
Jason Reyes here. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
From the applicant team. Correct. Fire response team is always, almost always, non-sirens, non-lights, most frequently connected in residential neighborhoods. Local first responders understand that, again, this is residential neighborhoods. They're not coming sirens blazing. And we're a assisted living. We're not skilled nursing. Assisted living is non-medical. And I think that's an important factor, right? We'll have LVNs and RNs. This isn't a hospital. Our average client is an 82-year-old widowed woman. And it is, someone who needs help with maybe bathing, dressing, medication management. And ultimately, we're providing a social experience, right? We're providing all the meals, housekeeping, laundry, entertainment. And for that, again, very, very non-medical. So most of our residents, good health, good spirits, older. And when ambulance services are required, again, almost always non-sirens.
okay, thank you. That's all the public comments
Yes.
and rebuttal. Okay. Commissioners, Who wants to start this evening? Armin, you want to start?
Sure. So I want to go back to the density. The project is too dense. The density as proposed is way over what was discussed here, or what's allowed here. And also, as we are looking at the plan, just imagine this row of units at the podium over the garage. They don't even get sunlight. You've got a 30-foot deep courtyard. And these units, they don't even get direct sunlight into them. So it's a problem for the units. The massing and the scale of the residential is not compliant with the neighborhood. It's basically an extrusion of the site. You know, there is no articulation, there is no setback, there is no massing articulation that you could see here. So I think it doesn't match the scale of the neighborhood. And as you mentioned, like the Merritt Gardens, I think that's a great example. It's a, you know, senior housing in Lafayette. It, like the articulation, the massing, it meets what's needed here, what's desired for this city. And I think if you just take that precedent and think about that how it could apply to this project, I think that's going to be a huge improvement for this project. The 5-story, like as you're just looking down the hill, you perceive this really tall concrete podium, and then on top of it, it's 3-story of the units. If you just look at the larger project just down the hill, the Park Residential, that's only 2-story over kind of a tucked under parking. So it's the scale of it just doesn't match the context, and it just way over what's desired for the city.
Okay, Richard?
Well, I sort of had the same reaction. I think to what Armand was saying, the scale of the building on that site is rather massive. And I think so a couple of things. One, just sort of long broken southern expanse of the building, which would be visible from elsewhere in the city without any real relief to it. There's very minor reliefs to that wall. I think that's problematic. I think the fact that there's really only 10 feet all the way around the building gives me pause. Landscaping that small of a section is, I don't know how effective that's going to be in softening this building. Very large building on the site, filling up the whole site, and there's really no relief from landscaping to help soften it visually. So I think those are my main concerns. I mean, certainly from a technical standpoint, we talked about the access and fire and all those things. I don't think I want to address those at this point, since this is early on with the project. But the overall scale of the project, the height of it, seems problematic. I was happy to see in what the slides that were shown that there's more parking, because that was another concern right off, was that it seemed like very limited parking. There is going to be a staff there. They're likely to park there even if occupants aren't, but if a large number of occupants aren't parking there. Trying to think what else, and it seems too premature on colors and materials and stuff. I wasn't really inclined to talk about that too much unless others felt that way. And seems undecided so far. I think those are my comments.
Travis?
I would concur with everything said thus far. I would simply add that, again, the massing is too great. And from that 3rd story, you're going to have light spray that's really going to affect the entire neighborhood. So I think you just have to bring it down. You have to size it down.
And I probably counter to everyone else. I don't see a problem with the massing because it's assisted living and the units are very small. Car usage will be a lot less. So and the height is 60 feet. It's zoned now for 60 feet, so it's not like, scaling it down and having less units is giving you a smaller profile. I think you're gonna end up with the same profile. The one thing I will agree with the other commissioners is that, when you look at the renderings, I think they sort of show more articulation that is really there, okay? And I think that when you get that large of a site, it's going to start looking flat. It is going to be flat. And I did feel like you did a good job, as flat as it is, to mix those materials up to give it some articulation, but that is an item that I'm not convinced is ideal. However, we're looking at objective standards of the city right now, not that they've been adopted, but one of the things that is keyed in is articulation on the main street, which is Eileen. And we're seeing that type of articulation with the Port Cochere. And I think that a lot of the buildings that we're gonna start seeing because of the height of going up to 60 feet are gonna look flatter. They're gonna be less articulated because the economics of building up is that you have to get those bathrooms all lined up, so on and so forth. It's just no way around it. I mean, what might be nice is maybe knocking out a unit or two and having a little cutout in the building to make it, so you might end up with 112 units and eliminate little cutouts to help, especially as I'm looking at it right now on the north side. I do have some concerns about what's gonna happen with all the trees coming down. Not that I have a problem taking down eucalyptus trees, but oleanders, I don't think are gonna cut it, considering the fact that this is a scenic highway. So this is really going to change the appearance of the driver's perception of driving through Lafayette. Because suddenly now we're seeing buildings sticking up. Yes, Woodbury 2 is sticking up in some areas as well, but it's not nearly as big in surface area as this site is. Again, the items on Eileen Street need to be worked out in regards to sidewalks, accessibility, so on and so forth. That was an issue last time. I think that's an issue this time. So some attention needs to be put into that. I'm glad that the trash went into the building. And if the fire is acceptable for that hammerhead coming up to the garage door, that's probably okay as well. So those are my comments.
I had one more comment, just for the applicant, that one of the things that would help in future presentation for us is show the sections of how this relates to the freeway. How does building height relate to where the existing level of the freeway is? How does it relate to the apartment house to the south? How does it relate to other surrounding areas? And we didn't really get that from this presentation, and I think that would really help. We're trying to understand the massing of the building in its context. We see the massing in an abstract. It's it's like it's floating in space and not how it's sitting in the space. So I would encourage you to incorporate that in any future presentation that you prepare for us that shows sections through the site so we can see elevations, pick the primary spots, viewing areas where the site's gonna, we're gonna see the building and to give us a visual of what that's gonna look like. I think that would really help to understand this better. But from what I see, I think that it's a big building on that site.
And please have the drawings to scale or have a graphic scale on the drawings.
Okay, so there's no resolution, that's just our comments this evening. Take them for what they're worth. And good luck. We're gonna move on to the next agenda item. So the next agenda item is a new public hearing, HDP 20-25, GR 07-25. This is on Sky High Homeowners Association. This is a request for a hillside development permit, grading permit to grade 1,800 cubic yards of dirt and
Sentence said about.
the planner is Nicole.
Thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. So I'll be presenting this application tonight. The Design Review Commission is the hearing authority on grading permits that involve more than 200 cubic yards of grading, which this project does require. For some site context, the parcel is located in the Sky High HOA area. This broad area is located in the southern portion of Lafayette, abutting the town of Moraga. And the landslide repair area is located behind 665 Sky High Road. The area is outlined in teal on my screen and then further zoomed in to show the area of work. So the project involves the repair of a slope that failed in late fall of 2023 when localized slope failure occurred on this steep slope before 665 Sky High Circle. The slide is currently not threatening any buildings or structures, and as previously mentioned, is in an open area of a nearly 31-acre lot. The project will not require the removal of any protected trees, and upon completion, the hillside will be restored to its formal natural state. The images on screen just show the existing condition of the slide area and the area below the V ditch behind 665. The slope restoration would involve repeating layers of geogrid reinforcement with layers of engineered fill. The geogrid layers are shown in this image as the dashed horizontal lines. The total amount of soil to be removed is estimated at 1,800 cubic yards, so 900 cut, 900 fill. 20 cubic yards of cut would be off-hauled as topsoil, and 20 cubic yards would be imported as drain rock. Once the grade is restored, the area would be hand seeded with native grasses and then also covered with erosion control matting. This application was referred to our outside referral agencies, and mainly, the ones to keep in mind, fire and our city engineer, Central San and East Bay Municipal Utility District, and no comments were received from those referral agencies. Staff recommends that the Design Review Commission find the project exempt from CEQA and adopt Design Review Commission Resolution 2025-17, approving the project subject to conditions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions
Yeah.
for staff? Okay, applicant, you wish to present anything?
It's optional if you'd like to. Or...
Oh, well, I mean, you pretty well covered it. It's a small slide repair in an area that nobody can see. We're gonna fix it, put it back like it was, seeded, erosion control, that's it. It's
Okay,
about as basic as it gets for slide repairs.
okay. And do we have any public comments?
No.
We didn't have questions for the applicant, right? Okay, let's go. Commissioners, who wants to start this evening?
I learned that Sky High has a gated community when I tried to go look at the slide.
And walk there, there's a gate, but there's like a little hidden. you can
There's a
walk-
secret way in that
There's
I
a
didn't
secret way in.
know.
I found that.
But other than that, I don't have any comments on it. I
Okay.
think it's important they repair the slide.
Travis, any comments?
No.
Okay, I think we can make the resolution. I'll read it for you. To find the project exempt from CEQA and adopt DRC resolution 2025-17, approving the project subject to conditions. All in favor? Who's gonna second it?
I second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. I'll be in touch.
Okay, last item, we have,
Art volunteer.
Art volunteer, I'll volunteer, unless someone else is dying to do that. Okay, commissioners report, do we have anything? I'll report that we met a second time, Richard and I, with the consultant on the objective design standards. We're making good progress. And there is a meeting scheduled for November 20th, which is a Thursday. The meeting will start at 6. There's gonna be sort of a open public discussion. There'll probably be some presentation, but minor presentation, mostly just to open for discussion, because it will be out for public comments, the objective standards. And then following the 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, at 7 o'clock, we will have a DRC meeting to discuss that as our item on the agenda. And I might be wrong, but I think we normally may not have the following Monday meeting.
The November 10th meeting?
No,
Sorry.
After the 20th,
The
yeah.
November 24th, yes,
Yeah.
which is, you moved to item 11.
Okay,
Discuss more.
okay, so that basically taking you up to date?
Right, so yes, as in the agenda, there is looking at the cancellation, possible cancellation of the Monday, November 24th, Design Review Commission meeting, Thanksgiving week. There are currently no items scheduled on that agenda, so we're most likely looking at canceling that meeting.
Okay, if there's an item that comes up, can we just move it to the 20th?
I think.
And then I think the other thing on the 20th, when you make up the agenda,
Mhm.
obviously, the majority of people that will come are there for the objective standards,
Mhm.
but if the other item is a very short
If it could be
item,
special.
I don't wanna have someone have to sit there for several hours waiting, when we can just push them through and finish it up.
Yeah,
So just 20th is on Thursday.
Yes,
It's up there.
yes.
yeah, so I don't think we could, if we.
Yes.
It
So
does-
try to clear your calendar, because this will be probably our most demanding meeting that we've had in our careers.
And then I have one other update. So the next scheduled meeting is November 10th, Monday, November 10th, which is the day before Veterans Day. City offices are closed that Tuesday for a holiday. So currently with the item that was placed on the agenda, that opened
Yeah.
public comment, there's one other additional item. So, I know that might be tricky with the holiday, but, just letting you guys know that so we can look at.
Sure.
quorum.
Every day's a holiday.
So there will be a meeting.
Yeah, we may schedule, but with the holidays, we just wanna put this on your radar.
Sure.
And then that's all I have.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're adjourned.
Well,